The Price of Trust. My name is Robert Hayes, and I once believed that love was the strongest contract two people could sign. Until the day I learned that love, too, can expire the moment money enters the room. 5 years ago, I married Isabella Moretti. She was dazzling, the kind of woman whose laughter could light up a room and whose silence could freeze it just as quickly. Her family was old money from Newport, Rhode Island. Builders, hoteliers, people who spoke softly and signed loudly. To them, I was an outsider. A construction manager with rough hands and a good heart, but the wrong last name. In the summer of 2023, everything changed. Isabella had a ritual. Every Friday, she'd buy a few lottery tickets with the same numbers. The day we met, our anniversary, her mother's birthday. She'd always smile and say, "One day these numbers will save us." I laughed, kissed her on the cheek, and said, "We don't need saving." But one humid July evening, standing in our kitchen by the open window, I saw her trembling as she stared at her phone. The TV murmured in the background, announcing the winning numbers. She didn't speak. She just looked up, pale and wide-eyed, and whispered, "Robert, we won. We actually won." The amount, $9.4 million. After taxes and deductions, roughly $6.2 million. For the first few days, it was a dream. Champagne, laughter, and endless phone calls. But then her parents arrived, Camillo and Eleanor Moretti, flanked by lawyers and polite smiles. The celebration turned into a meeting. They spoke in half sentences, careful words like asset protection and inheritance clarity. By the end of the week, they convinced Isabella that family security meant keeping the money under the Moretti name. That's when everything shifted. Her texts became shorter. Her eyes stopped meeting mine. And one night, at the dinner table, she said quietly, "Robert, maybe we should take some time apart. It's just, things are complicated now." 2 days later, I was out of the house, and in my inbox, a reminder of a prenuptial agreement I'd signed 5 years earlier. Back then, I thought it was just a formality, a symbol of trust. Now it was a weapon. I thought it was over, until I met Henry St. James, a lawyer from Providence, with a reputation for tearing apart unbreakable contracts. He wore old suits, smoked mint cigars, and had a photographic memory for fine print. When he looked through my prenup, his lips curved. "Robert," he said slowly, tapping the page, Clause 4.3, Joint Income and Acquisitions Within the Marriage. This includes winnings and gains obtained from any joint purchase or shared financial instrument. In short, if she bought that ticket with our joint account, I had a claim. And she had. The receipt showed she used our shared debit card. Even better, her father had later transferred portions of the winnings into a family trust and used part of it to renovate their yacht. We found invoices, digital transfers, and photographs. The Morettis had built their fortress, with my bricks. The lawsuit began in March 2024 in a packed courtroom in Providence County. Across the aisle, Isabella looked fragile and beautiful, porcelain and gilt. Her father's lawyer, Victor Belmore, was infamous. A courtroom predator with a $2,000 tie and a voice like velvet. He called me an opportunist. He painted Isabella as a generous woman under siege by a greedy ex-husband. But Henry's calm voice cut through the theater. "This is not about greed. This is about honesty. The ticket was bought with shared funds. The winnings were blended into joint accounts. And the Moretti family tried to conceal assets under false pretenses. Piece by piece, our evidence landed like hammer blows. Bank statements. Surveillance footage from the gas station where the ticket was purchased. Emails from the Moretti's accountant discussing transfer strategies. By the third week, the press was calling it the Newport Betrayal. Offers came, quiet settlements, first for $300,000, then $750,000. Hush money dressed as generosity. I refused them all. The courtroom climaxed on a stormy April morning. Rain lashed the windows as Judge Margaret Langford, a stern woman with steel-gray hair and a gaze that could freeze glass, delivered her verdict. "Given the evidence," she said, "this court recognizes the lottery winnings as joint marital property. The plaintiff, Mr. Hayes, is entitled to 50% of the net proceeds." Gasps rippled through the room. Isabella's mother fainted. Her father clenched his jaw so hard his cufflinks shook. And I just sat there, numb. My share came to $3.1 million. But the money wasn't what mattered. It was that, for the first time, someone had said I was right. Months passed. I used the money to start Harborstone Homes, a company that builds affordable housing for working families. 8 employees, 2 pickup trucks. One vision, to create something real, something that couldn't be stolen. A year later, Isabella remarried. Her new husband, a lawyer from Boston, soft-spoken, polite, wore the same kind of smile her father once did. I didn't go to the wedding, though the invitation came. Instead, that night, I stood on the pier behind my office, watching the harbor lights shimmer against the dark water. The wind was cold but clean. I thought about everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained. For years, I believed love was about trust. Now I know. Real trust is what remains when love is gone. I wasn't ruined. I was rebuilt. And as the tide came in, I realized something I never could have learned in the courtroom. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find out what you were meant to build. Final note, Robert never bought another lottery ticket. But every Friday, as he drives past that same gas station, he smiles. Not because he remembers the win, but because he remembers the lesson. Money can change your life, but it's character that decides how your story ends.